And I said to him, Brendan, are you sure? Because there's a questioning face for some kids. He said, yeah, I'm sure. So I hugged him. I said, you've given us a million reasons to love you, and this doesn't change any of them. Patrick, he told, when he was moving a couch, Patrick picked up the couch, and Brendan said, Patrick, I'm gay. And Patrick said, fine, pick up the couch.
Welcome to Hockey Culture, everyone. This is the place where we're trying to change the culture of hockey, one interview at a time. And we've got a very special guest joining us in this Hockey Culture. And you can probably tell by the way I'm dressed, you know exactly who this is. The president of hockey operations of the Pittsburgh Penguins, the great Brian Burke. Burke, welcome.
Thanks, Anson. Thank you for having me on.
I was actually wearing a different collared shirt, but I thought to myself, you know what? This is the look that Burke's made famous. And we're talking about the Pride game with Buffalo and Pittsburgh. So I said, why not rock the pink tie the way Burke would do on TV or back behind the scenes now as the president of hockey ops of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, well, and you know, Anson, it wasn't a fashion statement. I used to work for Pat Quinn, and I got into work at 6 a.m. So when the Boston Bruins were open for business, so were we. Someone was at the desk at 6 a.m. But I would go in jeans and a t-shirt, and I'd keep my suits at work. I'd go down and work out. So when I was rushing back up, I'd always leave the tie like this and wouldn't tie it till I needed to. It was just sheer laziness. It wasn't a fashion statement.
I had no idea. That's a great story. But now it has become a fashion statement because this has been synonymous with Brian Burke having the tie around the neck, not tied, and always looking engaged with whatever you're doing. So it's funny how these trends start from one thing and they become another thing. But I want to talk to you about sitting on the board of the You Can Play project. It was started by your son, Patrick, Brian Kitts, and Glenn Whitman. It was inspired by your son, Brendan, who was tragically killed in 2010. Talk about when you guys started the You Can Play project to where it has gone today. It has a massive influence across all the major sports leagues.
Well, first off, thanks for having me on and talking about such an important topic. So Brendan, my son, as you well know, Anson, but for people who are watching, died in a car accident shortly, a few months after he came out publicly as gay, with the full support of his family. And we decided as a family, we said we don't want his passing to end his legacy. We want him to carry on larger than life, because him going public and saying, I'm gay, my family supports me, that helped a lot of people. So the notion was, and Patrick deserves the credit for this, not me, was if you can play, you can play. And we started off with these tight black and white headshots. You remember them, Anson. Zdeno Chara, right tight. All you can see is his face, no name. And he says, if you can play, and then another player, Claude Giroux, says you can play. You can shoot, you can shoot. If you can fight, you can fight. In other words, we don't care who you go home with. We don't care what church you go into. We don't care about that. If you can help this team win, you're welcome here. And while it's a sports message, it's a much broader message to people who are gay, particularly young athletes in team sports. You belong here. It's a broader message. So I think it's helped a lot of people. All the major sports leagues have jumped on board. The NHL has been a fantastic ally. It's a great venture. And again, I don't deserve any credit for it. Patrick does.
What was that conversation like when Brendan came out and told the family? Because I'm sure he could have been in the position where he thought that maybe his family might not have been accepting. He didn't really know. So what was that conversation, especially with yourself, was that this persona that you have, this big, tough, rough person? Take us in behind the scenes, because I want other kids that potentially could be thinking about coming out, and maybe they could say, hey, look, Brendan did this. This is the conversation he had with his parents and his family. So this might inspire me to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and you're right. I was the last person he told, because he was a little nervous. Now, keep in mind, when I was a kid, my dad listed our house in Chicago. We moved to Boston. And the realtor got to the front door and he said to my dad, don't worry, I'll make sure the right person buys this house. My dad said, what does that mean? Basically, he was saying, I'll make sure a white person buys this house. My dad ripped up the contract right there, threw him out on its ear. And so I was raised in a house where homophobic jokes weren't allowed, racial humor never allowed, never tolerated. So my kids grew up in that same kind of household. So I think Brendan knew it would be okay deep down, but still, like you say, I ride Harleys, I chew tobacco, I drive a Ford F-150, right? I'm a pro fighting guy, I'm gruff. I was the last person he told. And I said to him, Brendan, are you sure? Because there's a questioning face for some kids. He said, yeah, I'm sure. So I hugged him. I said, you've given us a million reasons to love you, and this doesn't change any of them. Patrick, he told, when he was moving a couch, Patrick picked up the couch, and Brendan said, Patrick, I'm gay. And Patrick said, fine, pick up the couch. Like, it was a non-event in our house. So I think you got to have the proper values in your household that if you don't tolerate certain things, if you practice diversity and inclusivity in your own home, those conversations are a lot easier for your kids. And I tell people that if you tell your kids there's something wrong about being gay, then you're gonna have a much tougher conversation than you're gonna have if one of them is gay.
So now you have these conversations at home. We're taking care of business at home, and now expanding that outside the home into the arenas or the stadiums. I've seen statistics saying 83% of sports fans don't believe an openly gay fan would feel safe at a sporting event. How do we lower those numbers and make gay fans feel acceptable and comfortable at our sporting events and enjoy sports the way you and I both do?
Well, first off, I would dispute that figure. I think I have gay friends who go to hockey games and they feel perfectly safe. Maybe it's different in Canada, I don't know. But I would dispute those figures. That being said, the fact that there's even a topic that it made it into a poll question means there's an issue. You wouldn't have a poll question. They didn't ask if people wear blue hats to games, how safe do they feel? How safe do you feel if you're gay and you go to a sporting event? I believe the NHL has made tremendous progress in the area of diversity and inclusion. I see much different hiring practices at the club level now. I have hope for the first time in my adult life, I have hope that we're going to solve some of these issues. So the league has been on the whole diversity and inclusion front has been a great ally and a leader. So to me, I look at the example they provide. If you use a homophobic slur now, you get suspended. That's certainly not true when you played, certainly not true when I played. So we're making progress. We signed the Marlies pledge. The Marlies signed a pledge that everyone's welcome. Certainly in our building, everyone's welcome in Pittsburgh. Anyone who suffers any type of abuse because they're gay, we will make sure that people that do that are ejected and prosecuted. So the gay community is welcome in Pittsburgh. The Pride Nights are important. I hope we get to a time when we don't need to have Pride Nights, but we do now. I've marched in Pride parades in Ottawa, Calgary, New York. And this year, because there was no Pride parade, Rick Mercer and Rick is a gay author, comedian, actor, brilliant guy. We marched the Pride Parade route this year on a hot summer day, on the day it was supposed to be held, since there wasn't one. So these things are important. The Pride Nights are important, that the league's behind that. The Pride sweaters, the Pride tape. It's all a statement that we've got to get to a point where everyone feels comfortable, no matter what they do for a living, no matter where they go to church, no matter what color their skin is, no matter who they go to bed with, that they feel comfortable and included in the NHL. We've made great progress, but we still got a long way to go.
Yeah, I agree. We've made tremendous progress thanks to the leadership of the NHLPA and National Hockey League. But why do you think, with all the progress that we've made, that we haven't had a player come out as an openly gay National Hockey League player? Because I know there's guys out there that are gay hockey players, and even gay executives, but they're afraid to come out. Why do you think that is?
First off, we know we have gay players. I mean, any mathematician or statistician can tell you that. Whether you use the low range or the high range of the estimate of gay people in North America, we've got gay players. We've got them right now. We had them last week. We had them 10 years ago. So the issue is, how come a player hasn't felt comfortable coming out? And I think it's a complex answer. First off, I hate when I hear people say, when will a player have the courage to come out? It's not about courage. When you talk to my friends in the gay community, tell me, I'm no expert, but the reason people hesitate to come out is usually not how they be viewed publicly. It's more someone close to them and their family is not going to approve, and it might divide their family badly. That type of struggle is the number one hurdle. I think a player that came out, I hope the first player comes out plays for me. I hope he's on my team. And so I think he'll find a much more welcoming landscape than he probably thinks he will. But this generation of kids, they view gay people in a much more favorable light than my generation. So these 20-year-olds, they're already accepting, and they include inclusivity is something they've been taught and practiced. So I think it'll be a non-event, but I don't want to classify it as when a player will have the courage to do it. It's when a player is comfortable doing it, and I hope it's on my team.
Well, change always starts at the top. You're the top of the food chain there, the president of hockey operations there in Pittsburgh. Now I want to talk about on April 17th, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Buffalo Sabres will celebrate the LGBTQ plus communities, co-hosting the NHL's first ever joint Pride game on NBC. What kind of pride does that give you, knowing that your team will be participating in this? And it's a game that's on NBC, the national platform, the National Hockey League. It isn't buried on some other network or on streaming service on a Monday or Tuesday in the middle of the season and no one's paying attention. This is a big time game right after the trade deadline that all eyes will be on these two teams, and they're celebrating this pride game that's being played as a joint contest between these two teams the first time ever.
It's great, and I'm very proud to be involved in it. I'd like to say the league strategically put Pittsburgh in there, but this schedule was done before I joined the team, so I wasn't linked to this in any way. Very proud that the Penguins are involved. We are open. We are proud to be part of the LGBTQ community in Pittsburgh. Fans, players, welcome in our building, and we're proud to be part of this game. Now, I will say, I didn't answer one of your questions, Anson. The reason there's all this stigma and hatred is this is not a door that you kick in. This bias and this hatred and this prejudice is built up over centuries. These are mud walls that have to erode over time. We're not going to wake up one day and say homophobia is gone, because the ignorance that accompanies it and the bias that accompanies it, the hatred that accompanies it, it built up over centuries, not even decades, centuries. So we got to be patient. And that's why people say we haven't made as much progress as we should. I'm like, good Lord, we've made great progress. Is it going as fast as I'd like it to? No. But I've seen a dramatic change. I told Brendan, there were no gay kids in my high school. There were 3,000 kids in my high school, no gay kids. And Brendan said, well, of course they're gay. I said, I know, that's the point. You didn't dare come out back then. And now you can go out to a restaurant with your date. You can do whatever you want. It's much better. It's not where it needs to be. We're nowhere near 100%, but I've seen such positive progress that I'm encouraged.
Now, what can we do more? Like, I always think we could always do more. Like, I could have the same conversation with you when it comes to Black players increasing BIPOC and female participation in hockey. Same thing with the LGBTQ plus community, that we could always do more. How do we make this a movement and not just a moment? I steal that from Kim Davis. Kim Davis always talks about this being a movement and not a moment. How do we do this and make it a movement instead of just saying, okay, we have this one Pride Night game between the Buffalo Sabres and the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then we forget about it in a few weeks?
Yeah, Kim Davis is sensational, by the way. What a great lady. You're right. And the key is, how do you mobilize? And I'll compare this to women's hockey. People say to me, I support women's hockey. Really? You go to the games? No. Well, then you don't support women's hockey. If you want to support the LGBTQ community, write a check, march in a pride parade, join a gay straight alliance, like do something positive. We'll get you the information for You Can Play. Send a check to You Can Play. But if you're not actively supporting, if you're not an ally in some way, you're not really helping. You can vote the right way on these issues. Right now, trans kids are under attack all across America right now with legislation pending in, I think, 30-something states. You can vote the right way and influence some of these issues, but write a check, march in a parade, join an alliance, take a positive step on behalf of the community. You're not really supporting the LGBTQ, and I always leave plus out, Anson. Thank you for reminding me. LGBTQ plus community. You're not really supporting that community unless you're helping and taking an active role. Be a part of the solution, like you say, not a moment, make it a movement.
Yeah, I always get that plus in there now because Megan Duggan, tremendous team captain, Olympic gold medalist for Team USA, she's on our Players Inclusion Committee, and she always reminds us as a group that the plus is very important. And speaking of the Players Inclusion Committee, your name has come up several times. We always talk about mentorship. We always talk about people that we could reach out to in the hockey community that would have that impact on other managers or team presidents. And they always say Brian Burke. And this is players, male and female, that they've heard the stories. They've talked to people without really knowing you. They've said this about you. So I just want to bring this up and say it to your face, because you might not know players are talking about you like that. You might think people are talking trash about you all the time, but players are, in a respective manner. And it's very important to have mentors out there. It's very important to have sponsors out there when it comes to diversity, so people will listen. They're saying, hey, look, Berkey's behind this, therefore we should follow in line with this too, because it's a winning proposition. It isn't just the right thing to do. This is about winning too. I talk about Jamal, and I talk about Blake Bolden, I talk about Megan Duggan. They've won championships, but you're a Stanley Cup champion as well. So you know exactly what winning culture is all about, and having diverse groups coming together and putting their minds together to come up with diverse solutions. I mean, you're leading the charge doing that. So I want to commend you for doing that, Burke. You've been a tremendous job and an amazing ally for all different communities.
Well, thank you, Anson. I am proud of that. And I do view myself as an ally. I'm very proud to take that praise from you because I respect you very much. But I used to say to my kids, and I stopped saying it, And this is kind of the eulogy I gave at Jimmy Johansson's funeral. I used to say to my kids, who's going to come to your funeral and what are they going to say? They're not going to talk about how much money you made. They're not going to talk about what kind of a car you drove. They're going to talk about were you a good husband? Were you a good father? Were you a good wife? Were you a good mother? Were you an ally? Did you have principled stance? Did you contribute to charity? That's what evaluates you as a human being. And I'm very comfortable that at my funeral, they're going to be talking about things like you just said, Anson, not Stanley Cups, but sleeping out for the homeless and the different things. And it's really critical. And I really appreciate your saying that. So we need that same passion now on behalf of the LGBTQ plus community. And I remember the plus. I'll try to remember the plus more. But it's important work. This is a big day. It's a huge thing to be on NBC playing a Pride game with Buffalo.
Yeah, it's huge. It's massive. I can't wait. I'm going to be in the studio for that game. So I can't wait. It's a historic moment. I can't wait to participate and be a part of it. And now everyone knows at home that you're not this big, tough, rough guy that you play on television, they see on TV. And that's actually payback because you made me get my own copy of your book, Burke's Law, which has been amazing. If you'd have sent it to me for free, I would have allowed you to keep fooling people that you were this big guy, but you're not. So, Burke, thank you very much. We know that you're very busy with your time as the president of hockey ops of the Pittsburgh Penguins. You guys are playing great hockey right now. You've got a lot of things you got to get ready for. So thank you again for joining us on Hockey Culture.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Anson.